Joe, common swim problem number 7 is having problems getting your wetsuit on or off. So this isn't really a problem in the water itself, but this is a problem right before you start the race when you're getting the wetsuit on, or in T1 when you're trying to get to the bike portion of the race. Some people get stuck, right? They get stuck. Their foot gets stuck. They have problems just getting that neoprene off and peeling it off quickly and efficiently. I've seen people in transition start to panic, and then their heart rate spikes, and it takes them even longer to get that wetsuit off. So talk to us about this. How can we, even if you're practiced at this, I think it's going to happen. So if you find yourself having wetsuit issues getting it off, what do we do on race day?
This is a really important question, and it's really twofold. So we're talking about getting it on properly. We're talking about getting it off properly. Getting it on, one thing that I relay to my athletes now with how Ironman events are run, half or full, they are lining up athletes way early.
Yeah.
Athletes are getting in line behind their designated sign for swim time very early. Like we're looking at an hour before swim start. So what happens is, you're very nervous, you're not paying very close to time, and then there's a mad rush to get that wetsuit on. So when I talk to them about when that transition is set up and you are at swim site, you are getting that wetsuit on. You're going to get it up to hip at least, so if it's a hot environment
like for me, it's once I've gotten to go to the bathroom. Once I've gotten to the bathroom, there's no reason to delay putting the wetsuit on.
You've got wetsuit on because if it is a good fitting wetsuit, it's going to take 20 minutes to get it feeling perfect.
Yeah.
And that means you have to start way down at the ankle. We need to get this wetsuit as high as possible to ensure, very good shoulder mobility. Nothing sucks more than having it pulling on your shoulders because we didn't get that wetsuit high enough. Often this takes an assistant. We need help. We need somebody, once we've got it up the hip, to give us a really, as Jeanette Anderson or Shannon Cranston will say, who are both tri-dot athletes, I need someone to give me a good wedgie on this wetsuit.
I want a neoprene wedgie on race day. Absolutely.
Yeah, neoprene wedgie. Yeah. Get this sucker as high as we can. So it's very important to allow yourself enough time to get that wetsuit on properly. Part of that is a comfort level of attaching the back of that wetsuit. So, make sure you're not choking yourself out by attaching it. I like to leave it a little bit looser. It gives you a little bit more feeling that you can breathe. So that's important as far as getting it on. Second is baggies on the feet, gloves on the hand. That's helpful for making sure we don't tear that super expensive wetsuit we've just invested in. And also another technique John Mayfield uses is to pull from the inside of the fabric. So when you have it on your legs and you've got your ankles into the leg holes, use the interior to pull, and you will not be able to tear the wetsuit as you're pulling it up. So those are just some techniques. Some people will glide their ankles, lube their ankles and hands, and if it's a very tight wetsuit, to get it on more easily. The question then becomes, we've swam, we're kind of discombobulated, we're coming out of the water. And this is something I have my athletes practice religiously is pull your goggles up, but don't take them off, because then you've got goggles or swim cap in hand and you're trying to take a wetsuit off.
Yeah,
it just becomes you're a hot mess at that point. So the point is, lift them up. Now I can see, not blind, but let's just leave what we have up here going on. Let's just leave that as it is.
Yeah.
2 hands. And then,
good point.
and as you're finishing that swim, that last 100 yards, mentally, the imagery of what I'm doing step by step. So for me, when I'm swimming in, I'm like, goggles up, unlatch the top, pull the string down. Like sometimes you got to say these things to yourself, and you're going to have a much faster transition onto the bike, and easier time getting that wetsuit off. So what's helpful to me is to remove the wetsuit and get it down to my hip. I think wetsuit problems and removal were a lot harder when we were going through the pandemic, and we didn't have, I think they're called, what are they called now? They're not called strippers anymore.
They're not wetsuit strippers.
No.
They are wetsuit healers.
Handlers, maybe? It's been
peelers?
renamed. Peelers. It's peelers. We are now peelers. So peelers, not strippers.
Like a banana.
No more.
Like a banana.
No more strippers at Ironman races.
More strippers.
Who would have thought? So now we are back to peelers, strippers. So, teaching my athletes, take advantage of help when you can get it during a race. So do not be shy. You're going to have to throw yourself down on your back. Once that wetsuit is down to the hip, it is amazing how they can pull a
Yeah,
wetsuit off in 2.5 seconds.
they really
Um,
can.
it, yeah, and then they throw it at you. You're up and you're on your way. There are instances, as I relate back to like Arizona, and that we still weren't having the peelers, assistant in that point. Volunteers can help you in transition. They are allowed to touch you. It's like, if you say, "Can you help me?" They can definitely help you. If you have, for some reason, couldn't get it unlatched or couldn't find the string, or your hands are too cold to handle anything, a volunteer can help you if you ask them. That's within the rules. If you're just if you are on your own, getting it down to your hip, it becomes that leg game of which leg can I step on first to pull, and to
Yeah.
get it off. But also, if you're really struggling, don't hesitate to sit down. Let your heart rate come down. Take some deep breaths. You're probably not going to win this race on the 15 seconds you choose to sit down to get that wetsuit off. So, if it's going to make for a smoother transition and a smoother start to getting onto that bike, just settle down for a minute, sit down, and take your time and remove the wetsuit.
Yeah, the only time, Joe, I've ever had a problem getting my wetsuit off is if it gets caught on my timing chip around my ankle, right? Because we can
Yeah,
practice this like when we're doing our open water swim training around town. We can practice this in our hotel rooms or our homes, taking the wetsuit on, putting the wetsuit on, taking it off. But you can't really simulate that timing chip being on the ankle unless you happen to have one at
yeah,
home, or maybe get creative with something different at home. But that I never think about it until all of a sudden, like, oh man, I've got all this neoprene bundled up around my ankle. It's clearly caught in
yeah,
the timing chip. And just like I said, all I can do is sit down, right? Not rush myself, not spike the heart rate, just finagle it off with my hands, take as long as it takes. And I'll get that time back, not letting my heart rate spike, right? Once I'm on the bike.
right.
And I've seen athletes, I know you've volunteered in Galveston, like I volunteered in Galveston, 70.3 Gulf Coast, Texas, or Galveston, Texas. I've had athletes that know who we are, come up to me and while I'm volunteering in transition. Andrew, help me get my wetsuit off. And they exactly, there's no peelers there. And so they just hit the deck
Yeah.
in transition. We know what we're doing. So we rip their wetsuit off, hand it to them, and they go.